What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham, G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking our first WWE 24 in quite a while, according to my notes. The last WWE 24 we broke down here on the channel was the WrestleMania 38 one back in March of 2023. That's a very long time. This one was on Damian Priest, The Rise of El Campeón, aired back on Monday, August 5th. WWE did do a screening of the documentary over the weekend in Cleveland for SummerSlam on Friday, I think it was. I was supposed to go, but the media stuff got done so late, I just didn't have a chance. So I did wait until Monday. Probably worked out for the best. Damian was there speaking towards it or during it, before it, after it, whatever. Gunther was there as well, the rest of the Judgment Day. And that would have been cool and all, but I like to take notes, watch it, pause it when I can. It is a little over an hour. That's the runtime, an hour and 5 minutes. It's a very good documentary. You learn more about Damian than I definitely knew before. You definitely learn more about Damian than you probably did previously, as far as like his upbringing, his life. All the wrestling stuff really isn't anything new, where he talks about his training, Ring of Honor, joining WWE, becoming Mr. Money in the Bank. There is some cool behind-the-scenes shots and stuff like that. So the wrestling stuff itself really isn't anything new, but the behind-the-scenes shots and stuff like that, like I said, is really what's worth watching about the documentary. And the emotion from Damian talking about all the stuff that he overcame and the stuff from his family. We hear from his dad, his mom, his sister, his brothers. They seem like a really close family, so that's really, really cool. But yeah, I'm just glad they even did this because, like I said, it's been a very long time since they've done a WWE 24. Now, they've done docs on Cody Rhodes since then. They did a doc on Bray Wyatt. Those were not WWE 24s. They basically were, but they weren't. Different. I mean, I assume it's the same production people, but they didn't brand them as WWE 24s. This was a lot more than that. Or this was a lot less than that, rather. The Cody Rhodes and Bray Wyatt stuff were like full-on fucking documentaries on Bray Wyatt and Cody Rhodes. This was a little bit different, but it was still very good. So we started off here. They show Damian as the World Heavyweight Champion at NYC Puerto Rican Day in 2024, back in June. I think he was there last year as well with Zelina Vega. Maybe they were both there this year. I don't remember. But I know he was there this year, this time as the World Heavyweight Champion. Then he goes all the way back about being born in NYC. He started liking wrestling. He started liking wrestling around the age of 8. And he knew that he wanted to do it after watching The Undertaker. That was his all-time favorite growing up. They mentioned how his first language was Spanish. And he actually watched Wheel of Fortune to learn how to spell in English, which is really interesting. I did not know that, obviously, but I thought that was a cool little tidbit that the family threw in there. He mentioned how he joined an MMA school, which I think I did know. I feel like he talked about that during his time in NXT. I feel like we talked about that when I interviewed him years ago, but I thought that was interesting too. His dad was actually the instructor, and his dad did not take it easy on him. And we hear from his dad a lot, and his dad was very skeptical about this wrestling thing and whether he would make it or not. His dad seems like a hard ass. His entire family seems nice. His dad specifically comes across like a hard ass. And he wins him over in the end, obviously, when he wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Spoiler alert. But the way that he came across was interesting, I thought, in this doc. He must be one of those parents, one of those type of parents. But anyway, he said that he did not continue school after high school. It was his friend Charlie, actually, that said, hey, do you want to try out this wrestling thing that we've been, dreaming about and joking about and really talking about, been passionate about for such a long time? And he was like, yeah, sure. So they started training. They didn't mention what happened to Charlie. I assume he fell out of it, but Damian kept going. So they joined the Monster Factory in like 2006, I think it was. And Charlie says that Damian was a natural from the start. Damian, though, was struggling financially. He slept in his car quite a bit. He slept on church steps for a little while. And he could have asked for help, but he didn't want to. And his parents did not know about any of this. I don't know until when. I don't know when he told them, but they did not know about this for a very long time. Actually, at one point, his car got broken into and his gear got stolen. So that sucked. And he kind of had to work without gear or get new gear, and he couldn't afford to do that for a while. So that sucks. He got an FCW tryout in 2010, but he said he tanked it. He just was in terrible shape, was not ready for it. It was not the right time for it. He mentioned how from that point forward, he gained even more weight. He gained a lot of weight. He was, I think he said north of 400 pounds. That sounds like a fucking lot. It might have been 300 pounds, but I thought he said 400, which is a lot. And he was a really, really big dude. He didn't go to the gym at all. He said he did not go to the gym for many, many years. And he mentioned how he was also around that point not a good person. He said he worked at a club, and that got him a free apartment and a free car, but they told him, hey, we can give you a promotion, but you have to stop doing this wrestling thing on the weekends. He immediately told them, here's my 2 weeks. I'm not working here anymore because he was not giving up the wrestling thing. His girlfriend took him in at one point, and she had multiple kids, and it was tough, but they made it work. And they were just shopping at Dollar Tree and shit like that for a while. He started dieting, he said, and started thinking positively, and was really thinking, like, if I really want to make this thing work, I have to think positively and really turn this thing around, which he did. He mentioned how, or Paul Heyman mentioned how he saw what Damian was doing and really became a fan of his around 2014. And he helped Damian get WWE extra work and really kind of get his foot in the door, which led to a WWE tryout in January of 2015. And Triple H, who was in charge of it around that point, mentioned how he did really well. They gave him great feedback, and he was impressive, but they just did not have the space for him around that point in time. So he got signed by Ring of Honor instead. He said he was making around $44,000 a year, $40,000, whatever it was. He was making good money, and he was like, he felt like around that point he made it, where he was making enough money to kind of live comfortably and be able to go to like the grocery store once a month for food and stuff like that. Bayley actually said that she saw Damian while working in Ring of Honor at one of their shows, and she flat out asked him, why aren't you in WWE? Like, you're good enough to be there. You should be in WWE. I don't get why you're not. He ended up getting a phone call from WWE in 2018 about when his contract was up. And I thought this was interesting. He mentioned how when he was in Ring of Honor in 2018, they called him asking him when his contract was up. And he said, in about a month. So they got back in contact with him after that, and they signed him soon after. They signed him about a month later because he said his deal was up in a month. Now, would that not be an example of contract tampering, which is interesting, too, because I know WWE was guilty of that around that point in time with people like Adam Cole, Dijak, Bobby Fish, Leo Rush, Kyle O'Reilly. I know all of those guys ended up signing with WWE in 2017. Keith Lee soon after as well. I don't think he was in Ring of Honor at that point, but they were all in Ring of Honor when WWE wanted them, and I think they all had to delay their debuts because the WWE was caught contract tampering. And they also did it with AEW and other promotions, MLW, I think, as well. They've just been notorious for that sort of shit. So did Damian just admit contract tampering on WWE's part in their own fucking documentary? I mean, maybe that's not contract tampering, but they did flat out ask him, when's your deal up? While he still worked in Ring of Honor. Now, if he was talking about through a feeler, then sure. But he said that WWE contacted him. So it doesn't sound like one of his friends was asking him. They made it sound like it was the company itself that asked Damian when his deal was up, which was interesting. Anyway, so Triple H did not think he looked all that comfortable, Damian that is, in other places. He kind of felt like that Damian was playing a character and wasn't himself. So he asked him what he wanted to do here, and he was like, I want to be a rock star. So the Priest name came from Judas Priest. He used Judas Priest as his theme song on the Indies at one point. And Damian, he actually got from the fact that he was almost named Damian as a baby. But a movie came out, The Omen or whatever, and they didn't want to name their baby Damian right after, after the devil around the release of that movie. So they're like, we won't use that name. So they named him, I think Luis is his actual name. So he used Damian, which I thought was really interesting. Taker apparently saw him and gave him advice. And that was around like early 2020. They've shown that clip before. I think in Taker's documentary, The Last Ride, they showed that, where he showed up at the PC and gave those guys some advice, which is cool. They show him having his breakout performance, which I totally forgot about, honestly, at the TakeOver In Your House show in June of 2020 against Finn Balor, actually. So him and Finn Balor, not even the fact that Balor beat him for the United States Championship on the main roster in early 2022, they had a history dating back to 2020 in NXT, and they had a really, really good match on that show. He became NXT North American Champion soon after, and then he got told about being called up at the Royal Rumble and working a program with Bad Bunny. And it was funny how he told the story. He was like, apparently he told them, hey, you guys know there was actually an artist named Bad Bunny. We can't have a wrestler named Bad Bunny here in WWE. And they're like, we know, we just weren't sure if you knew who he was. And they're like, fuck yeah, like obviously, like he's Latino, he's Puerto Rican, whatever. Of course I knew who Bad Bunny is. So he was like, holy shit, this is crazy. So he had a strong showing in the Royal Rumble. He immediately became friends with Bad Bunny, but he felt the pressure on him to deliver for the company, for Bad Bunny, and for himself. He had a lot of people relying on him to do well, and because the Bad Bunny thing didn't go well, he kind of knew my career is over. Not my career is over, but like I'm fucked. Like I had to kind of work back from underneath and bounce back from this and blah, 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 which is really cool. So he ended up making the most of it. He actually tweaked his back, which was a rumor at the time. Again, I totally forgot about that, but he was injured going into WrestleMania. And I think he denied it in subsequent interviews, but he worked through it and obviously got through the match, and it was a really fun match. They show him getting emotional before the match, or rather after the match, talking about how it was everything he ever dreamed of, but better. It exceeded all of his expectations. They show him winning the United States Championship at SummerSlam from Sheamus, and this is what really fucking bothered me. This was another top takeaway from the documentary. We hear from Triple H, and he says that Damian was pretending to be something that he wasn't. Bayley says something similar. And Priest says that the fans could see right through the smiley babyface stuff and that it wasn't genuine. Here's the thing, though. They're not necessarily wrong. Damian wasn't completely comfortable as a character back then. But here's the thing. He was getting over. It's not as if it wasn't working. It was not a Damian Priest problem. It was a company problem. And even with what they're saying, it still was a booking problem. But it wasn't Damian Priest's fault. They're kind of putting it on him like, oh, he wasn't getting over because he wasn't comfortable. No, it was the company's fault. It was Vince fucking McMahon giving him this split personality gimmick that was terrible and completely ruined any momentum that Damian Priest had around that point as United States champion. I'm thinking, how the fuck do we completely gloss over this? And listen, I know, like, it's easy to paint this picture that, it's easy to say that this person wasn't comfortable and that's why it wasn't working. No, he was getting over and winning matches, and they fucked it up by having him lose matches and get DQ'd on purpose. It made no fucking sense. That character sucked. And it took him a long time to kind of get back to that point. So we ended up losing the United States Championship to Finn Balor on Raw, I think in March of 2022. It wasn't at WrestleMania until, the Judgment Day stuff came about. And thankfully they acknowledge Edge. I thought they would jump right ahead to like when he joined or when Finn Balor joined in the summer of 2022. But thankfully they do acknowledge that Edge saw something in Priest and recruited him into that OG Judgment Day, which I actually enjoyed. I mean, I think the new Judgment Day has been better, but that OG Judgment Day I actually liked. So he thought he was done after he lost the United States Championship, thought he was cooked. Creative had nothing for him. He wasn't even on the Mania card until he did help Edge beat AJ Styles at Mania. And Edge wanted to form a new brood, which was the report of the time, and apparently that was true. Triple H wanted him to be him. So, and that was the whole point. I kind of want him to be him out there, and that will get him over, which it did. So Edge asked Damian's opinion, like, oh, who should we add? What about Rhea Ripley? And Damian obviously said yes, because they were already friends, him and Rhea, so they added Rhea Ripley. Also brought up Finn Balor, and Damian's like, are you just bringing up people I'm going to say yes to? Because obviously I'm going to say yes to him as well, and they brought in Finn Balor. Now, they don't really explain why Edge got booted. I know why he got booted. He's explained this before in an interview with me and other people where Cody had just gotten hurt and something else had happened. They needed a babyface. Like, they needed to pivot quickly. I mean, the Judgment Day wasn't... It was weird because it was working. They were starting to find their footing as a group, and then they broke them up, which made no fucking sense. Like, they were booked well, and it just was so abrupt. It was weird. They didn't mention here why he got booted. They should have. They didn't. It's not really about the Judgment Day. It's a Damian Priest documentary. And Rhea even says, I didn't want Edge to leave. And obviously ended up working out once they included Dominic. He was a natural fit in the group, not from the get-go, but later on he was. From the get-go, it was like, what the fuck are they doing here? But Dominic ended up really growing into the role and is now one of the best parts of Raw every single week. Dominic says that he's grateful to them for bringing him in. And, they mentioned at WrestleMania 39 how he wasn't on the card, but Dominic was, and Finn was, and Rhea was, and he was happy for his other Judgment Day members. But, he knew his moment would come, and it did. The following month, the Backlash with the match with Bad Bunny, which was great. He talks about that match and the opportunity and the crowd reaction and everything else the whole weekend being in the basketball game, and he calls that match special, which it was. Carlito came out, Savio Vega came out. It was amazing. So fast forward a couple months, he ends up winning the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. And they mentioned how the failed Money in the Bank cash-in attempts became a meme, which they did. And I guess Damian, according to Finn, even expressed concern to Finn Balor about how the cash-in may not be working out. I may cash in unsuccessfully. This may not work out after all. And Triple H was like, well, the fans didn't really know where it was going. So, of course, you're going to say all this and not really see where it was going. Listen, I agree with that. You're right. We did not know where it was going. So, of course, we're going to shit on it in the moment. But not only that, though, they did take it a little bit too far. Rhea even said here, where it made Damian look silly, and she's not wrong. It did. It made him look incompetent and like a fucking idiot when he was attempting to cash in almost every single week and it wouldn't work. You can do that a few times. They did it way too much, though. They made it look like he was a loser. And obviously it didn't really matter once he cashed in the briefcase, but people were still not completely sold on Damian because of those failed cash-in attempts and how he was made to look like a goof. So I don't want to hear this shit like, oh, people don't know where it's going, so of course they're quick to criticize. Yeah, sure, that is true. But at the same time, your own booking was pretty fucking incompetent. What about Austin Theory when he was made to look like a loser every fucking week? Did you tell him the same thing? Oh, you don't really know where it's going, so it's okay. It's all going to work out in the end. Did it, though, for Austin Theory? Yeah, he was United States champion for 9 months, a reign that most people will not remember. I mean, come on, Theory's way worse off than he was 2 years ago. So I don't want to hear this bullshit that, oh, yeah, we're doing everything happens for a reason. I mean, it does, but you can do a little less of it. When you're in control of it, you can do a little less of it. That would be my main takeaway from that one. I thought that was an interesting comment because it's not exactly true. But anyway, Triple H did tell Damian apparently, hey, listen, shove it down fans' throats. They are, complaining about this, that, whatever, shove it down their throats. Even though Triple H was the one in charge of it, like Damian was complaining about fans complaining, then why not complain about the fucking booking? You know what I mean? So Damian mentions, and which is true, there were a lot of changes going into Mania, so he had no idea what was going on. Him and Finn were already defending the tag team titles. They don't mention that, but they did defend the tag titles on night one, and they lost. He did not tell the other members he was cashing in until probably right before when they were in Gorilla. But Rollins praised Damian Priest backstage. When Rollins came back from his World Heavyweight Championship match with Drew McIntyre, you see him with Priest, and he was like, hey, go get it, you deserve it, this is your moment, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was really cool. They relived the cash-in, a great moment. You see the Judgment Day members really happy and emotional and celebrating backstage during the cash-in. Balor said that he's become more proud of other people's accomplishments than of his own, and seeing the satisfaction that it brought Damian really made him happy as well. He gets praised by Triple H when he walks backstage as Damian as the new World Heavyweight Champion, cashing in on McIntyre thanks to an assist from CM Punk. His whole family was there. His brothers were front row. That was really, really cool. And he gets praised by the entire roster backstage. He just got swarmed walking through the backstage area, and everyone was taking the time to congratulate him, from Cody Rhodes, The Rock, The Undertaker, and his family was there for the Rock and Taker ones, and they thought that was really cool, and his dad was finally proud of him. Should have been proud the entire time and supporting him the entire time, but clearly he did not until the very end, but whatever. And he just mentions how he never really was ever sure that this stuff was ever going to happen, as far as being this successful and being at this moment in time as the World Heavyweight Champion, and it paid off in the end. So that was great. And I thought it was a really good documentary. Again, I learned a lot about his upbringing and his family life. The wrestling stuff was kind of stuff I already knew. He's mentioned it on Raw, and like the Ring of Honor stuff I knew, the WWE stuff I knew. Some of the stuff they said I thought was interesting, and I already mentioned what that stuff was. And I think, like I said, the best part of the documentary is the behind-the-scenes shots and the mini stories and the anecdotes and stuff like that. I've seen better 24s. I thought this was a good 24. And it's very timely, too, because Damian Priest is coming off that World Heavyweight Championship run where he was very over. He was very over during said run, and he's very over right now, which is cool to see. So check it out right now on Peacock. WWE 24, Damian Priest, the Rise of El Campeón, right now on Peacock. Hopefully they do more 24s. I don't know why they just randomly decided to do one on Damian Priest, since they have not done one since March of last year. To my knowledge, unless I reviewed it and I just forgot, they didn't even do one on WWE's Mania 39 show. They didn't do one on WrestleMania 39. They did one on every Mania from Mania 30 through 38. They did not do one on 39, unless they did, and then they came out and it came out in a different form, I guess. I don't know, but they haven't done a WWE 24 since this one in like a year and a half. Hopefully, it's not another year and a half until the next one, because these are good, and I enjoy the production value, and it gives people kind of a spot to shine in, as far as, like they did one on Big E, they've done one on R-Truth even, Keith Lee, and those were all great. I wish they would do more superstar profiles and stuff like that. Like even the behind the curtain thing was kind of like a 24. It wasn't an official 24, but it kind of turned into one. Maybe they won't do a WWE 24 in Mania 40 because of that one, I would imagine. But hopefully we can get back to doing the 24s, because they are really, really good. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to check out the other WWE 24 reviews I have up here on the channel. Be sure to like the review, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel, not the comment. Subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.